Hi, kindergarten. Today I'm going to read a book. It's one of my favorites by Dr. Seuss. It's called Daisy Head Maisie, and it's really fun because once you open the book, first of all, the flowers are upside down, and then the whole book is upside down and it's backwards, so I have to flip it around and start from the back. All right, Daisy Head Maisie by Dr. Seuss. It's hard to believe such a thing could be true. And I hope such a thing never happens to you, but it happened, they say, to poor Maisie McGrew, and it happened like this. She was sitting one day at her desk in her school, in her usual way, when she felt a small twitch on the top of her head. So Maisie looked up and almost dropped dead. Something peculiar was going on there. A daisy was sprouting right out of her hair. My goodness. Behind her was sitting young Herman Strudel. This looks like a daisy up on her noodle. It doesn't make sense, and why, it couldn't be so. A noodle's no place for a daisy to grow. Then up spoke another boy, Einstein Van Tass, the brightest young man in the whole of the class. It's a very odd place to be sprouting a daisy, but nevertheless, one is growing on Maisie. Hey, look it, cried Butch, right here in this room. Daisy Head Maisie, she's bursting in bloom. Miss Schneecher, the teacher, came rushing up quick. Such nonsense! Some child here is playing a trick. Which one of you boys stuck that thing in her hair? You know that's a daisy. You know that a daisy could never grow there. But teacher, said Butch, I saw the thing rise right off her head with my very own eyes. Just give it a yank if you think I tell lies. But Miss Sneecher had heard quite enough of this talk. Maisie, hold still. Let me get that stalk. Ouch, hollered Maisie. Quit yanking, Butch said. You're giving her pains. I bet those roots go way down to her brains. The kids in the class started shouting like crazy. Daisy Head, Daisy Head, Daisy Head Maisie. Children, be quiet. Good grief, and alas, Miss Sneecher was shocked by the noise in her class. I've taught in this room 20 years, maybe more, but I'll never seen anything like this before. I'll have to report it. You'll just have to come to the principal's office and show Mr. Grum. My goodness. Now the principal of good, Mr. Gregory Grum, was a very wise man, just as smart as they come. He knew more than anyone else in this nation about long division and multiplication. He knew all the answers, why oceans are deep, why skies are so high, and why mountains are steep. He should have the answer to this thing on Maisie. My word, he declared, it's a genuine day. I've seen them quite often in fields growing wild. But never before on the head of a child. Now what in the world ever made this thing sprout? I have no idea, but I'm gonna find out. It says here, daisies grow on the land. They grow between rocks and also in sand. It mentions right here that they can grow in a pot, but it doesn't mention the head of a girl. It does not. Daisies, it says, sometimes grow in Alaska, also Missouri, Rhode Island, Nebraska. They grow in Japan and Spain and Peru, in India, France, and Idaho too. They grow in South Boston and also in Rome, but why should they grow on this little girl's dome? Say, look it, said Maisie. It's wilting, it's drooping. How wonderful, Maisie. It soon will be dead. You'll be rid of that daisy. In just a few minutes, our troubles will pass, declared Mr. Grum. Take her back to the class. Then the principal saw the most terrible sight. The daisy was dying, and that was all right. But the daisy was part of poor Maisie McGrew, and Maisie was starting to wilt away too. Teacher, said Mr. Grum, you know what I think. They're both going to die. Hurry, bring them a drink. Oh my goodness. That Daisy, the girl's worst problem in town. You take her away and you make her lie down. You lock her up tight in that room down the hall. There's quite a few numbers that we've got to call. Get Maisie's parents on the end of the line and meet them quickly while there's still time. On the phone, Maisie's mom asked, what's all the fuss? Thank goodness to Betsy. I'll catch you the next bus. A call to the shoe store reached Mr. McGrew. He answered while holding a customer's shoe. Yes, this is. Oh no, I really must go. A doctor should see her, principal said. An expert on plants like the one on her head. So he called Dr. Icebart, who said, what a trick. My stethoscope's packed. I'll be there in a tick. Wait, Doc, said his patient. I'll come along too. My brother's a vet, and he knows this McGrew. When he heard, Finch the florist grabbed his shears. I'll be there just as soon as my truck can shift gears. Everybody's going to help. Meanwhile, poor Maisie lay down on a couch. The daisy slumped down its leaves in a slouch. But the window was open. Because it was warm and the sweet-smelling daisy attracted a swarm of bees. Bees! Bees! Oh my gosh. Now there's bees. The faster she ran, the faster they flew. So Maisie kept running. What else could she do? She attempted to hide behind Officer Thatcher, who cupped out his hat like a bumblebee catcher. The bees took his hat, Thatcher said, I'm no fool, and ran after Maisie back to the school. Principal Grum didn't know what to do. It's worse, cried Miss Sneecher, much worse than we feared. The daisy and Maisie both have disappeared. Behind her came charging Mr. McGrew, chased by a customer chasing his shoe. Mr. Finch, the florist, Dr. Icebart, too. Dr. Icebart's patient, and Mr. McGrew. Through the window with Officer Thatcher, who slammed the pane shut so the bees couldn't catch her, jumped Maisie McGrew to the floor in a splatter, with the daisy still there, except taller and fatter. My gosh, it's getting bigger. My poor little daughter, the daisy, it's true, I'm going to faint, cried Mrs. McGrew. Tut, tut, said the florist. There's no need for tears. Just because there's a daisy between her two ears, I'll snip it right off with my sharp pruning shears. She's my patient, don't touch her, you must stand apart. We have to make room, said Dr. Icebart. I think that Maisie and her plant could get me a research grant. Then the door opened wide, and the mayor stepped inside. At meetings and greetings, there was none to compare. He was the best at long speeches, chock full of hot air. I promise, my friends, that if I'm re-elected, this daisy on Maisie will be disconnected. The law of our fathers is simple and sound. Daisies belong and should stay on the ground. The rest are illegal. We'll bar them from town. Far from the back came a voice, sometimes loud, sometimes slick, of a wheeler and dealer who knew every trick. I'm Finnegal the agent. You've heard of me, I'm sure. I represent young What's-His-Name and others now on tour. But Maisie, you're so special. Please let me shake your hand. Your talent is a wondrous thing, unique in all the land. Daisy had Maisie spelled out in bright light. We'll draw kids in the day and parents at night. Daisy had Maisie, you've got quite an act. Just stick with me, kid, and sign this contract. Your flower needs to sign too. Her mother said, Maisie, don't be a fool, and the principal begged her not to leave school, but Maisie didn't stop to blink. She signed her name in fake-proof ink, and the Daisy signed too. Daisy had fever was gripping the nation. It had quickly become a worldwide sensation. Daisy had burgers and Daisy had drinks. Daisy had stockings and Daisy had sinks. Daisy had buttons and Daisy had bows. Maisie was famous, the star of her shows. Fame had knocked on Daisy's door. Now she had it all and more. Piles of money stocked in tens. But what is money without friends? A dream that led her far astray. That was the price she had to pay. Maisie McGrew ran night and day, nowhere to go, nowhere to stay, because she was sure that everyone must have written her off in total disgust. Over and over again in her head, these words that poor Maisie said, I can never go home. Nobody loves me. Nobody loves me. Nobody loves me. Nobody loved her. Poor Maisie McGrew. It's hard to believe such a thing could be true. And maybe that's why that on this Daisy above, when Maisie below began talking of love. Well, you know about daisies. When love is in doubt, the job of daisies, try and find out. They love her not. They love her not. Don't worry, Maisie, they'll love you. They love me. Well, that's how it all happened, the thing that went away. And Maisie McGrew was quite happy today, back at her studies and doing just great in all of her subjects in room number 8, and concentrating that daisy, and concerning that daisy, you know that it never grew out of the top of her head again, ever? Well, it practically never popped up there again, excepting occasionally just now and then. Ting! And after all, I'm getting used to it. Wow, she has a daisy around the top of her head. So this is the last week of school, and I'm so proud of you guys for making it all the way through kindergarten. You're going to have so much fun in first grade, and I can't wait to see you next year. So I hope you have a fun and safe summer, and I'll see you next year. Bye, guys.